Hello, I'm Andrew, and this is a recreation of a dress that Madonna wore for the Blonde Amibition Tour in 1990. That was the year she debuted the iconic cone-shaped bra designed by Jean-Paul Gautier. This outfit she wore during a performance of Papa Don't Preach. It's a tunic that I have made out of a black sparkly mesh. You can see it has bell sleeves, slits up to the hip on either side, so that it flows beautifully while she twirls and spins. It has a hood and a separating zipper. Now to complete the outfit, I'm going to need a slip to wear underneath because clearly this dress leaves nothing to the imagination. I'll start by making a rough sketch of my design. It's going to be a very rough sketch because I am not a sketch artist. I'll draw my silhouette first, beginning with the skirt. I'll follow the shape of the body, going in at the waist and then back out and keeping it close at the hip. Now I'm not going to need any slits or vents because this is just going to be a mini. And I could make this a sheath dress by following the sight lines all the way up to the shoulders, but I want the shoulders bare, which means I'm going to need a fitted bodice. To do that, I'm going to start by drawing an inverted V with the apex ending just under the breastbone. Now this gives me space to add darts or gathers to accommodate the fullness of the chest, like so. And this is where Madonna's cone bra would normally come into play for the costume, but I want to make it a little more understated. Something that I could use more universally. So I'm going to draw the bodice going up toward the shoulder, then back down around the back, and I'm going to use straight lines because that'll give it a more masculine feel. And to finish off, I'm going to draw shoulder straps. Now I could do strapless, but that would require a more fitted bodice. I'd have to make the measurement about a ½ an inch shorter than the bust and probably do some adjustments. With the shoulders, it's much simpler. I don't have to worry about it being too loose. And then there you go. Perfect undergarment. Simple, elegant, timeless. Exactly what I need for this costume. Now that I know what I'm making, it's time to make the pattern. I'll start by going through my vast collection of patterns to find something similar I can build off of, rather than starting completely from scratch. This pattern by simplicity fits the bill. You can see it almost has the empire waist and darts like in my drawing. This one includes gathers, so I'll be mindful of that when I'm sizing it. And it has sleeves, so I'll draw my bust line and add the straps like so. And you can already see my design in this dress. Perfect place to start. I've ironed my fabric and laid it on my cutting table, so I'll lay my pattern piece and start cutting. You'll notice I have created my own pattern piece by laying the simplicity pattern on a sheet of white paper and tracing the lines that I want, and then drawing my own upper bodice edge and moving the darts accordingly. I normally don't cut pattern pieces one at a time like this. I usually fold the fabric in half and cut two at once, but the fabric was so silky it moved around while I was cutting and the top piece ended up not matching the bottom piece at all. I'll cut each piece individually and check that they match by laying one on top of the other. Then I'll use the original pattern as a guide to cut the back bodice, matching the side seam to the side front seam and cutting a gentle curve toward the center back. Now I'll cut the skirt. Because I want a bit of a stretch from side to side, I'll cut my pieces on the bias. What do I mean? Well, you would normally place a pattern piece straight up and down so that the center line would be parallel with the fabric edges. But I'm going to turn the pattern piece a quarter turn and place it at a 45-degree angle. I'll show you why. Here is a 1-foot square piece of my fabric. If I pull on the side edge top to bottom, it doesn't move. If I pull the top edge side to side, it moves a little, but not much. However, if I grab opposite corners and pull, you can see how much more it stretches. Again, because the fabric is so difficult to manage, I'll flip my pattern around the center line and hope that both sides will end up matching in the end. I'll also cut the two back sections on the bias in the same way. And I'm doing it in two sections so that I will end up with a center back seam where I can add the zipper. Once I have cut out the back sections according to the pattern piece, I will cut off the corner to take it from an A line to the hourglass shape that I drew. And now I'm going to construct the bodice, and I'll start by making the straps. To do the straps, I don't really need a pattern piece. I'll just cut rectangular sections that are long enough to reach from the front to the back. Then I will sew along the straight edge with the right sides together, tie off the loose threads by hand, then trim and turn. I try to make the straps wider so that it's easier to turn because I really do not enjoy having to turn. And now once I have the two straps, I will go on and put the darts in the front bodice sections. Lay the pattern piece there so I can make sure I know the right from the left. And then I will mark the darts with my pen. I'll fold right side together and sew along the dots, and I'll tie it off by hand and trim so that I have 4 sections, 2 for the front and 2 for the inside lining. And then I will add stay stitches. Now stay stitching is stitching on the seam line with regular stitches around the corners to keep them from pulling and stretching when I am sewing my pattern pieces together. And it will also indicate where I need to sew. So once I have a right and a left, I will begin by attaching the back sections to the sides, making sure I have it right side up, of course, right sides together, matching sides to sides. So once I have 2 halves, I can sew them in the center seam. One corner to the other. And now I'm going to use my stay stitching to show me where I can place my straps. Placing the seam to the inside, making sure that they're going to end up in the corners. And now that I have them attached and seeing them where I need them to be, I will take the bodice inside lining that I have sewn together in the exact same way and try to match the upper edges. Now you can see on the right side the upper edge didn't quite match, but that's what seam allowances are for. I have plenty of space to work with. So I'm going to sew them together. And now you can see I have the bodice put together. And I'm going to do some stay stitching. What that means is I'm going to open it out and press the raw edges toward the inside and sew near the seam. And this will keep the fabric from rolling to the outside when the dress is worn. And now it's time to add the skirt. I'm going to just measure by eye to make sure it's going to match up seam-wise. And then I'm going to sew the side edges to the front section. Then I'm going to attach the dress skirt to the dress bodice along the upper edge. Now I'm going to attach the straps to my dress, so I'll put it on the dress form, lay the straps where I think they look nice, and pin them on like so. And I'll measure them to make sure that they are even. And this is ordinarily when I would take it off and put it on the model to double check, but instead I'm just going to leave some extra length here so I can adjust it later for a different person. Now, I could have left openings in the upper bodice and slipped the strap inside to conceal it within the dress for a more neat finish. But it's much easier just to sew it on the inside, and then it's simply a matter of undoing the stitches and readjusting. So now that I have it where I want it, I'm going to use my water-soluble pen to mark the edges of the dress and the strap so I can put it back exactly where it was. Okay, now I've attached the straps, and you can see how beautifully that finished right there. And now for the last step, I'm going to do the hem on this dress. Now I could just do a simple rolled hem, which is to fold up the bottom edge about 1/4 of an inch, and then 1/4 inch again, and sew all the way along the edge with straight stitches. But I want to make this dress a lot shorter, and yet not have to cut off the extra fabric in case I want to let it down again. So I'm going to press one edge, and I'm going to press the rest up about 1.5 inches. I'm going to take my needle, and I'm going to insert it into the dress fabric, take just one little thread with the tip of the needle, and then I'm going to insert the needle into the fold of the hem and bring it out about 1.5 inches away. And I'm going to repeat the process all the way around. I'm going to take just the tiniest little thread from the front. I'll take a little finagling just to grab one thread. I'm going to insert the needle again into the fold where I came out of the fabric. And I'm going to bring the needle out of the fold about 1 inch or 2 inches away, and just keep taking one thread at a time, going all the way around to complete the hem. And then if I want to let the dress back down later, I just have to cut these stitches with my seam ripper. And now the idea is that the thread will not be visible when I turn it to the other side. And you see these little tiny puckers, that's where I grab the thread. Hopefully when I iron, those will disappear, but for the most part, you're not going to see this hem at all. And here we see it all put together. Look at how beautifully the details of the tunic stand out against the backdrop of this slip. You see you've got the freedom of movement, so you can see all these flaps blowing around in the wind machine and when she does her ballet moves. Perfect. Well, thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope you like.